The Galactic Council had long believed that Earth, a distant planet in a remote corner of the galaxy, was of little consequence. For centuries, Earth had been ignored, dismissed as a primitive world far behind in technological advancement. But all of that changed when a strange signal was detected coming from the depths of space, originating from none other than Earth. At first, the Galactic Council's highest-ranking officers thought it was a glitch, a random noise, or perhaps a distress signal from a long-forgotten outpost. But as their scientists analyzed the signal, their curiosity deepened. It was unlike anything they had ever encountered. The frequency, the structure, and the coding. Everything about the signal was too deliberate, too precise to be of natural origin. The more they studied it, the more they realized that the signal was coming from Earth. The signal itself was encoded with advanced patterns that were far beyond what any primitive civilization could have produced. At first, the Galactic Council believed that it must be a mistake. Earth had never been known for any advanced technology. How could such a signal be coming from them? The Council immediately deployed a team of the galaxy's most skilled engineers, analysts, and experts to trace the source. They used their most powerful technologies, tracing the signal through the fabric of space, and what they uncovered shocked them to the core. It was clear now. The signal wasn't just a random anomaly. It was Earth's military signal. The revelation stunned the Council. Earth, the insignificant planet, had somehow developed a military capability far beyond anything they could have imagined. This was no simple transmission. It was a clear, deliberate message sent by Earth's military forces, and that was something no one had expected. The Council's senior leadership had long dismissed Earth as a backwater planet, one far behind in technological development. They believed that the humans were barely capable of defending themselves, let alone threatening the galaxy. But this signal proved them wrong. The signal was encrypted with complex military codes, suggesting not just a functional military force, but one that was on the verge of something far more dangerous. Victor Zoll, a high-ranking officer within the Galactic Council and a legendary alien general, was assigned to lead the investigation. Zoll was a ruthless and strategic mind, feared by enemies and allies alike. His reputation for mercilessly crushing rebellions had earned him the respect of the galaxy's elite. He had seen countless civilizations fall under his command. But Earth had been seen as an afterthought, a planet with no power, no influence. That was until now. Zoll was tasked with uncovering the truth behind the signal. To him, it seemed improbable that Earth had developed such technology without attracting attention. The thought of a small, insignificant planet secretly advancing its military technology, far surpassing the rest of the galaxy, was something he couldn't ignore. The signal seemed to call out to him. He had to see it for himself. With a sense of grim determination, Zoll prepared to lead his elite team of soldiers and experts to Earth. The mission was clear: investigate the source of the signal, assess the threat, and eliminate it if necessary. He knew the risks involved, but he also knew that the Galactic Council could not afford to ignore what was clearly an emerging power. What Zoll didn't know was that his investigation into Earth would lead him down a path that would change the fate of the galaxy forever. Earth's secret project, codenamed Project Titan, was about to be revealed. And it was more powerful than anything he could ever have imagined. As Zoll's ship approached Earth's atmosphere, he and his team were unaware of what they were walking into. The planet below was still seen as a quaint, primitive world, but Zoll's intuition told him that something much darker lay hidden within. The deeper they dug, the more they would uncover, and the more they would realize that Earth's rise was no accident. It was the result of a desperate, determined effort to protect the planet from forces far more powerful. The most surprising discovery, however, was that these military technologies appeared to be far beyond the capabilities of any known alien species. Earth's military advancements were not just impressive, they were groundbreaking. The database contained detailed records of AI-driven super soldier programs, weapon systems that could manipulate gravity, cloaking devices, and energy shields that could withstand the mightiest of attacks. These were technologies that even the most powerful galactic empires had yet to master. Zal's heart began to race. He had expected to find something of value, but not this. Earth had been hiding a military secret for years, a program so advanced that it would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Zal knew that if this technology fell into the wrong hands, it could be catastrophic. He could only imagine the consequences of Earth's military rising to its full potential. As the transmission continued, Zal and his team were confronted with another unexpected revelation. The data contained not just records of military projects, but the blueprint for a new breed of soldier, humans who had been genetically enhanced and merged with advanced AI systems to create the ultimate warriors. These soldiers were not just skilled in combat. They were equipped with intelligence that far exceeded anything the galaxy had ever seen. The more Zal examined the files, the more he realized the gravity of the situation. Earth's super soldier program was not just a defense mechanism. It was an offensive weapon capable of taking down entire fleets. The very existence of Project Titan, which had been kept secret for so long, was enough to send shivers down his spine. What was even more troubling was the fact that Earth had somehow managed to keep all of this hidden from the galactic community. How had they developed such technology without drawing attention? How had they kept it secret for so long? The more Zal dug into the files, the more he realized that Earth had been preparing for something far larger than anyone had anticipated. Zal's thoughts were interrupted as the signal finally pinpointed its exact location, deep within Earth's underground military facilities. He gathered his team and ordered them to prepare for a ground assault. They were about to uncover the hidden truth about Earth's super soldier program, and nothing would stop them from getting the answers they sought. As they descended toward the planet's surface, Zal's mind raced. The stakes were higher than ever before. Earth was no longer the weak, defenseless planet they had once believed it to be. The truth of the signal had revealed something far more dangerous, and the consequences of their investigation could change everything. The journey had only just begun, and Zal was about to learn that Earth's secret was far darker and more powerful than he had ever imagined. The stars above Earth looked as peaceful as ever. From the depths of space, the planet appeared to be a simple, quiet world, far from the power struggles of the galaxy. But beneath the surface, something far more dangerous was brewing. As Victor Zal and his team descended toward Earth, the hum of their ship's engines filled the cold, sterile air. The tension on board was palpable. None of them knew exactly what they would find, but they all felt the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. Zal stood by the command console, his sharp eyes scanning the data streaming in from their reconnaissance. The surface of Earth didn't appear to have any major military infrastructure. No large cities, no obvious bases, yet the signal, the one that had drawn them here, had been traced to an unknown location. Earth's entire military presence seemed to be non-existent to the outside world. But there was something hidden, something far more advanced than anything Earth should have been capable of. The probe they had sent in earlier had picked up traces of an enormous underground base, far more sophisticated than anything they had encountered in their long history. The base was located beneath the surface of an island, far off the coast, completely uncharted and hidden in plain sight. The fact that such a base existed without the Galactic Council's knowledge was not just shocking, it was terrifying. Zal's eyes narrowed as his ship's sensors picked up more information. The structure was vast, stretching deep into the planet's crust, far beyond anything natural. This wasn't a mere military base. It was a fortress, a monument to something far darker. Something was off, something that made Zal uneasy. Earth's military had no right to build something like this. No world, especially a primitive one like Earth, could have pulled this off alone. As the ship touched down near the base, the team suited up. The air was thick with tension, each of them aware of the gravity of the situation. The mission was simple: find out what Earth was hiding. But the deeper they went, the more they realized that they were stepping into something far beyond their expectations. The base was hidden beneath a dense forest on the island, concealed by advanced camouflage systems. The entrance to the base was almost impossible to detect, and even with the most advanced technology, the alien forces had trouble pinpointing its exact location. The opening was cleverly disguised as part of the island's natural landscape, blending seamlessly with the surroundings. As they descended deeper into the entrance, Zal couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Inside, the atmosphere was cold and sterile. The walls were made of a strange metallic alloy that Zal had never seen before. It was smooth, reflecting the dim lights above them. The base was silent, almost unnervingly so. As they moved further in, the soldiers' boots echoed against the cold floor. The sound reverberated down the long, dark corridors, but there was no other sound, no sign of movement, no sign of life. "Stay alert," Zal instructed his team, his voice low but firm. "Something is off here." They moved cautiously, their weapons drawn and their senses on high alert. It didn't take long for them to find what they were looking for: a massive chamber at the heart of the base. Inside, Zal's heart skipped a beat as he laid eyes on what could only be described as the backbone of Earth's military power. Project Titan. The room was lined with rows of tanks, each filled with what appeared to be human bodies. But these weren't just ordinary humans, they were enhanced. Their bodies were covered in cybernetic armor, and their eyes glowed faintly with the light of advanced AI. These were no mere soldiers. These were living weapons, the result of years of research and development, combining genetic modifications with artificial intelligence. Zal's team began to study the tanks more closely. The soldiers inside were still unconscious, their enhanced forms suspended in fluid-filled chambers. But the sheer scale of what they were witnessing was overwhelming. Each soldier was genetically altered to be physically superior, stronger, faster, and more resilient than any alien species. Their bodies had been augmented with advanced nanotechnology, making them capable of healing wounds at an incredible rate. Their armor was sleek, almost organic, blending seamlessly with their bodies and making them nearly invulnerable. One of the team members, a tall and imposing alien named Gornak, took a step forward, examining the soldiers closely. "These enhancements, they're not just physical. There's something else. Something mental." Zal turned to him, his brow furrowing. "What do you mean?" Gornak gestured to the tanks. "These soldiers have more than just strength. Their brains are connected to a central AI network. They can think and adapt faster than any normal being. It's like they're one mind, distributed across many bodies." Zal's eyes narrowed. He had suspected something like this, but seeing it in person was a revelation. Earth had created a force of super soldiers, each one connected to a vast, intelligent network. Their combat ability was beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen, and it was clear that no alien force stood a chance against them. But that wasn't the worst part. As Zal and his team continued to explore the base, they found more disturbing signs. The soldiers were being trained in specialized combat rooms. The training was brutal, fast-paced, and efficient. These humans weren't just soldiers. They were living weapons, designed for a single purpose: to fight and win. One of the combat rooms was filled with holographic simulations. Zal observed the soldiers in action. They moved with terrifying precision, easily dispatching the simulated enemies. Aliens from different species, who stood no chance against their enhanced strength and speed. They cloaked themselves, blending into their surroundings with a technology far more advanced than anything Zal had ever seen. The soldiers' ability to adapt in combat was truly incredible. They were a nightmare come to life. But what really struck Zal was the realization that these soldiers weren't just made for defense. They were made for conquest. Earth's government had no intention of merely protecting their world. These soldiers were being trained to invade, to spread their power, and to take on the entire galaxy if necessary. Zal's mind raced. He had sent a probe here thinking he was dealing with a primitive backward planet. Instead, he had uncovered a terrifying force, one that could obliterate entire armies, one that could destabilize the balance of power across the galaxy. The humans weren't just survivors. They had become hunters, predators capable of taking on anyone who dared to challenge them. This was a mistake, Zal muttered under his breath. His team was silent, each member processing the gravity of what they had uncovered. The soldiers within the base were not just an army. They were a force of nature, a living, breathing weapon that could wipe out anything in its path. "Sir," Gornak said quietly, his voice tinged with awe, "if these soldiers are anything like what we've seen, the humans could take on the entire galaxy, and we would be powerless to stop them." Zal nodded grimly. He had feared this moment would come. He had underestimated Earth, and now, the consequences would be far greater than he had imagined. "We need to leave. Now," Zal ordered. "We've seen enough." As the team began to withdraw, Zal's thoughts turned dark. Earth had hidden a terrifying power from the galaxy, and now that power had been unleashed. The Galactic Council had no idea what they were dealing with, but Victor Zal did, and he knew one thing for sure. Earth was no longer just another backwater planet. It was a threat that could bring the galaxy to its knees. With a heavy heart and a mind full of uncertainty, Zal and his team retreated from the base, knowing that what they had found was just the beginning. The war for the galaxy was about to begin, and Earth had become the center of it all. The vast expanse of space was silent, but the calm was shattered by the roar of engines as a rogue faction of the Galactic Council prepared for its mission. This group, known as the Black Hand, had learned of Earth's super soldier program and saw it as an opportunity to harness this power for themselves. They had no loyalty to the Council. Their only goal was to dominate and exploit any asset they could find. Earth's newfound strength was something they could not allow to remain out of their control. The Black Hand's leadership was made up of power-hungry aliens who saw Earth's advancements as a direct challenge to their authority. They believed they could use the humans' super soldiers to bolster their own forces, twisting the program to their advantage. They decided to strike first, launching an attack on one of Earth's newly established colonies, hoping to seize control of the soldiers and force Earth into submission. The colony, located on a remote moon orbiting a gas giant, was small but strategically important. It housed the first batch of super soldiers in active deployment, soldiers who had completed their training and were ready for combat. The Black Hand assumed they would be easy targets. After all, the humans' military was still in its infancy, and their technology, though impressive, had never been tested in battle. The faction believed they would overwhelm the colony with sheer force, capturing the soldiers before they could mount a defense. However, what they didn't anticipate was the full might of Earth's super soldiers. As the Black Hand's fleet of warships descended on the colony, Earth's defenses were on high alert. The colony's military command had received early warnings, and the soldiers were prepared for the worst. But even they couldn't have predicted the scale of the attack. The Black Hand's fleet, led by a massive dreadnought, entered the moon's atmosphere with a booming presence. Their ships were equipped with powerful weapons, shields, and cloaking technology of their own. The aliens assumed the humans would be no match for them, that their technology would be overwhelmed by the sheer power of the Black Hand's fleet. But they were wrong. As the fleet moved in to strike, something extraordinary happened. The colony's defenses suddenly flickered to life, and the air was filled with the sound of combat. At first, the aliens thought it was a mere defensive counterattack, but then they saw the humans' true power. Earth's super soldiers, cloaked and nearly invisible, emerged from the shadows. They moved with terrifying speed and precision, using their cloaking devices to blend seamlessly with the terrain. To the Black Hand's shock, the soldiers didn't wait for the aliens to make the first move. They struck first, appearing out of nowhere, launching a deadly offensive. The soldiers moved in coordinated strikes, taking down the Black Hand's advanced ships with weapons that were far more advanced than anything the aliens had encountered. Their combat maneuvers were fast, fluid, and unpredictable. Each soldier seemed to know exactly where to strike, where to hit with the most damage, and where to disappear without a trace. It was as if they were everywhere at once. One soldier, Sergeant Rake, moved in close to one of the Black Hand's dreadnoughts, using a specially designed cloaking device to evade detection. He could hear the hum of the ship's engines as he crept up to it, his every step calculated and precise. As he neared the hull of the ship, he activated his personal EMP device. A pulse of energy surged through the dreadnought's systems, and for a moment, everything went dark. The Black Hand's fleet was thrown into chaos as their advanced technology failed. The EMP pulses emitted by Earth's soldiers disrupted their energy shields, their weapon systems, and their communication networks. The aliens could no longer coordinate their attack, and their fleet was thrown into disarray. The soldiers didn't stop there. They moved like ghosts, appearing and disappearing with uncanny precision, striking at vulnerable points in the enemy ships. The Black Hand's weapons were ineffective against Earth's soldiers, who were faster, stronger, and more intelligent than anything the aliens had encountered. Their AI-enhanced minds processed every movement, adapting to the changing battlefield in real time. Another soldier, Captain Alira, took a different approach. She led a team of soldiers in a daring assault on one of the Black Hand's flagship vessels. As her team launched themselves onto the ship's surface, their cloaks dropped, revealing their true power. With a single command, Alira's team unleashed a barrage of high-powered missiles at the dreadnought's weak points. The ship's shields crumbled under the force, and explosions rocked the vessel as its core systems went into a catastrophic shutdown. In the midst of the chaos, the Black Hand's leadership was forced to confront the truth. They had made a grave mistake. The humans were no longer just a fledgling species. They were a force to be reckoned with. Earth's super soldiers had not only withstood the attack, but they had turned the tables on the attackers, systematically destroying the Black Hand's fleet with brutal efficiency. Zal, who had been monitoring the battle from his command ship in orbit, watched in disbelief. He had underestimated Earth's strength before, but what he was seeing now was something entirely different. These soldiers were not just soldiers. They were tactical geniuses, capable of executing complex maneuvers that even the most experienced commanders would struggle to comprehend. Earth had developed an army that could fight and win against any opponent, no matter how powerful. The Black Hand's fleet was now in retreat, their warships limping away from the colony, badly damaged and broken. The once proud attackers were now fleeing in terror, their confidence shattered by the devastating power of Earth's soldiers. The humans had not only defended their colony, they had sent a clear message to the galaxy. This attack marked a turning point. The Black Hand, humiliated and defeated, had no choice but to rethink their plans. Earth was no longer a weak, defenseless planet. It was a military powerhouse, capable of taking on entire fleets with ease. The suspicions that had plagued Zal now turned into certainty. Earth was a serious threat. Its super soldiers had proven that. And with the knowledge that their AI-driven combat strategies could outmaneuver any alien force, Zal knew that the balance of power in the galaxy was changing. What had once been a simple mission to investigate Earth's military capabilities had now become a race to prevent the humans from becoming an unstoppable force. The Black Hand's retreat did little to ease Zal's concerns. The attack had revealed the terrifying potential of Earth's super soldiers. With their AI enhancements, advanced cloaking technologies, and superior combat training, these soldiers were a force unlike any the galaxy had ever seen, and Earth wasn't going to stop there. If anything, this attack had only sharpened their resolve. The true battle had only just begun. Earth had proven its strength, but now the galaxy would have to decide how to deal with this rising power. Would they stand against Earth and risk their own destruction, or would they attempt to negotiate and form an alliance with a species that had become a terrifying unknown? As the dust settled, Victor Zal stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the aftermath of the battle. The humans had shown the galaxy their power, and now the galaxy would have to reckon with the consequences. Earth had become a force to be reckoned with, and nothing would ever be the same again. The Galactic Council was in turmoil. The entire body of the Council, from the highest-ranking officials to the lower advisors, was abuzz with panic. For weeks, they had been aware of the peculiar signals coming from Earth, signals that had been traced back to a military base they hadn't even known existed. But now, after the attack on the colony by the rogue faction, the reality of Earth's capabilities had hit them harder than any of them could have anticipated. They were no longer just a peaceful planet with minor technological advancements. Earth had secretly been preparing something far more dangerous, a super soldier program that had surpassed anything the Council could have ever imagined. At the center of this fear was the discovery of Project Titan. Earth's ability to enhance their soldiers genetically and with advanced artificial intelligence had turned them into living weapons, far beyond anything any other species in the galaxy could produce. The soldiers were fast, nearly invincible, and had the capability to cloak themselves, making them invisible even to the most sophisticated alien technology. Their abilities in combat were unmatched, and now, the galaxy's most powerful leaders were faced with the terrifying realization that Earth was no longer the underdog. It was becoming a dominating force in the galaxy. Council meetings were usually full of debates and discussions about the future of the galaxy, but now they were filled with tension. Panic had set in. The idea that Earth's military power could reach such extremes had sent shockwaves through the Council. No one had ever expected that humanity, with its primitive beginnings, would rise to such power. Yet here they were, with technology that could rival any empire in the galaxy. Victor Zoll, the general of the Black Hand faction, was one of the loudest voices in the emergency meetings. His fleet had been decimated by Earth's super soldiers, and he had seen firsthand the raw power they possessed. His reports to the Council were filled with concern, his words echoing through the high chambers. "We've underestimated them," Zoll said, his voice filled with a mixture of disbelief and frustration. "They've turned the tide. If we don't act soon, Earth will have the strength to wipe us all out. They've created a weapon that can erase entire fleets, and they're just getting started." The other members of the Council nodded gravely, some murmuring in agreement, while others sat in stunned silence. The fear was palpable. For years, the Council had ruled over the galaxy with ease, relying on their superior military technology and alliances. But Earth's rise had disrupted everything. Now they faced an enemy that was not only strong but growing stronger with every passing day. "This is no longer just about keeping Earth in check," said one of the senior Council members, a towering insectoid creature named Krethar. "If they continue on this path, they will soon possess the power to reshape the galaxy. We cannot allow that." The Council's leadership turned to their most powerful assets, those with the experience and wisdom to make critical decisions. It was clear to them that Earth's super soldier program was not something they could ignore. If Earth chose to unleash their army, the rest of the galaxy would be powerless to stop them. A debate ensued, with voices rising in anger and fear. Some suggested direct military intervention, but others warned that an attack could provoke an all-out war, one that could leave the galaxy in ruins. Yet the more they discussed it, the more it became clear that Earth could no longer be ignored. They had to act, but the question was how. The Council's answer was to summon Earth's leaders. They had to know if Earth's super soldier program was under control or if humanity was about to unleash its military might across the galaxy. They needed to ensure that Earth was not a threat to their reign. And so, the Council sent their emissaries to Earth, requesting a meeting with the highest-ranking officials. The leaders of Earth, along with their super soldiers, were summoned to the heart of the Galactic Council's power. It was a decision that would determine the future of the galaxy. The human delegation arrived in full force. The leader of Earth, President Nathaniel Cross, accompanied by several of the top military officials and a few of the most elite super soldiers, stepped onto the station's platform. They were met by a sea of alien faces, each one watching them with a mixture of curiosity and fear. The moment was heavy with anticipation. As the doors of the meeting chamber opened, President Cross stepped forward, his eyes steely and resolute. Behind him, the super soldiers, imposing figures in their sleek, advanced combat gear, stood at attention. They didn't speak, but their presence alone sent a clear message. Earth had come to show the Council that it was no longer a weak player in the galaxy. They were here to make their stance clear. The Council's leaders sat in a semicircle, their eyes fixed on the humans. Zal, who had been one of the first to voice concerns about Earth's rise, watched Cross intently, his expression betraying a sense of wariness. This was no longer a diplomatic meeting. It was a confrontation. "You've brought your soldiers with you," one of the council members, a sharp-eyed reptilian named Frax, said, his voice cutting through the silence. "Are you here to prove your power to us, or do you intend to use it against us?" President Cross stood tall, his voice calm but unwavering. "We're here to explain ourselves. Earth has no desire to conquer the galaxy, but what we will not tolerate is being underestimated or controlled. Our super soldiers are under our control, and we intend to use them to defend our planet and our people, but we will not allow anyone to threaten us." The words hit like a hammer. The council members exchanged looks of shock, fear, and uncertainty. Earth had come not to beg for mercy, but to declare its strength, and the presence of the super soldiers only underscored that message. The tension in the room thickened as the council members tried to process this revelation. Some of them wanted to act immediately, to launch a preemptive strike, but others hesitated. They had seen what Earth's super soldiers could do. A direct confrontation with them could lead to disastrous consequences. Zal leaned forward, his voice cold and sharp. "You may have power, but what happens when your soldiers get out of control? What happens when you can't rein them in? You've created weapons, human weapons, that could obliterate entire fleets. The galaxy cannot afford to allow this kind of power to exist unchecked." Cross's eyes locked with Zal's, his expression unyielding. "We are fully in control of our weapons, and we will not allow them to be used for conquest. But let me make something clear. If you or anyone else tries to interfere with Earth's sovereignty, you will see exactly what we are capable of. Our power is not something to be taken lightly." The word hung in the air, the weight of the statement settling over the council chamber. It was a warning, clear and direct. Earth was no longer a naive planet. They had the strength to defend themselves, and they were not afraid to use it. The meeting was far from over, but one thing was clear. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted. The Council's hold over the galaxy was weakening, and Earth was rising as a force that could no longer be ignored. The future was uncertain, but one thing was certain. Earth would not be easily controlled. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with a tense silence as Earth's representatives stood in front of the Council's highest-ranking officials. The atmosphere was heavy with anticipation, each member of the Council awaiting an answer that could change the fate of the entire galaxy. The super soldiers, standing tall and silent beside their leaders, only intensified the pressure in the room. Every eye in the chamber was fixed on President Nathaniel Cross, the leader of Earth, who had come to answer the Council's most pressing question. What was the true nature of Earth's super soldier program, Project Titan? Cross had already made it clear that Earth had no interest in galactic conquest, but there was still uncertainty. The Council members were skeptical, and some of them were even afraid of what they had already seen. The last attack on the colony had proved how dangerous Earth's enhanced soldiers could be. They had wiped out an alien force in mere minutes, using advanced cloaking devices and AI-driven combat strategies that none of the Council's factions had been prepared for. But what they hadn't known, what none of them could have known, was the horrifying history behind the creation of these soldiers. Project Titan was not born from the desire for power or conquest. He began, his eyes scanning the room as he spoke. It was born out of desperation, a desperation that you, the Galactic Council, helped create. A murmur ran through the Council members, but Cross silenced them with a raised hand. The truth, he knew, was far more complicated and far more dangerous than anyone could have anticipated. The Council had believed that Earth's super soldiers were simply a product of ambition, but the reality was far more shocking. Cross continued, his words gaining strength as he relayed the horrifying history that had led humanity down this path. Years ago, before we ever considered becoming a part of this galactic community, Earth was nearly destroyed. We were attacked, relentlessly, by an alien coalition, a group of your allies who sought to erase us from existence. Our cities burned, our people died, and we were pushed to the brink of extinction. In the face of annihilation, we did what we had to do to survive. We turned to science, to technology, and to AI. We genetically modified our soldiers to be stronger, faster, and more resilient. We embedded them with advanced AI systems that allowed them to think faster and more efficiently than any human ever could. The room fell silent as the weight of his words sank in. The Council had not known about the history of Earth's struggle. They had assumed Earth's rise was driven by ambition. They hadn't known about the war that had nearly wiped out humanity. Now, with the revelation of Project Titan's true origins, they were faced with the painful truth of their own negligence. Cross paused for a moment, allowing the room to digest the information. When he spoke again, his voice was firm, but there was a hint of anger that he could not hide. We did not want to create these soldiers. We did not want to become a war machine. But when you've seen your entire planet burn, when you've seen your loved ones perish in a war you had no chance of winning, survival becomes the only thing that matters. We were forced to create Project Titan as a last-ditch effort to protect ourselves. And now we are forced to reorganize our military forces, not to conquer, but to protect our planet from any further threats. The Council members shifted uncomfortably, the truth of Earth's past weighing heavily on their consciences. Some of them had known about the war that had devastated Earth, but the true scope of it had been kept hidden for a long time. To learn that Earth had created these super soldiers not out of aggression, but out of survival, was a revelation that turned everything they thought they knew about humanity on its head. A voice from the back of the chamber broke the silence. It was Victor Zoll, the leader of the Black Hand faction, who had been one of the most vocal critics of Earth's rise to power. So you're telling us that this war, this nearly destroyed Earth, is the reason for your soldiers? You expect us to believe that you were only acting out of fear and necessity. Cross's eyes locked with Zoll's, and there was no hesitation in his reply. It's the truth, General, and it's the reality you're facing now. Your forces were not the only ones who underestimated us. The galaxy as a whole has underestimated humanity for centuries. But what you fail to realize is that our soldiers are not just genetically enhanced warriors. They are our answer to every threat, to every aggressor that dares to threaten our home. And now we stand ready to defend it. The atmosphere in the room was electric with tension. Cross's words had left no room for ambiguity. Earth was not interested in galactic conquest. They had no desire to rule over other species. They simply wanted to ensure that their people could survive. They had built the super soldier program as a safeguard, not as a weapon of domination. Zoll, who had once been so confident in his faction's strength, now found himself questioning everything. He had seen firsthand what Earth's super soldiers were capable of, but he had never understood the motivations behind them. Now, faced with the truth, he realized that he could no longer underestimate the humans. Their soldiers were a direct result of their desperation, a desperation that had driven them to create a force capable of taking down entire fleets. But there was one thing that Cross made absolutely clear. If anyone, any faction or species, dare to attack Earth, they will face our wrath. This is not a threat. It is a guarantee. We will protect our planet at any cost, and if that means fighting every empire in the galaxy, then so be it. In their arrogance, the Rogue faction made a grave mistake. They decided to strike Earth's main colonies. They believed that by crippling humanity's colonies, they would send a clear message. Earth's newfound strength was nothing compared to the might of the galactic powers. They were wrong. and they were about to learn that lesson the hard way. As the rogue fleet entered the solar system, they were met with a force they had never anticipated. Earth's super soldiers, having already proven their worth in the earlier skirmishes, were now fully mobilized. The soldiers' cloaking devices activated as they moved into position, their eye-driven tactics already calculated to counter every move the rogue faction made. The aliens were not prepared for the sheer speed and precision of the humans' attack. The rogue fleet, which had been confident of their victory, was suddenly blinded by a series of rapid, high-speed strikes. The super soldiers moved with such fluidity and coordination that it was impossible to track them. In mere moments, Earth's forces deployed a massive orbital bombardment, targeting the rogue fleet with pinpoint accuracy. The orbital platforms, equipped with advanced weaponry that had been built in secret, unleashed a barrage of missiles and energy beams that tore through the rogue ship's defenses. It was a slaughter. Within minutes, the once mighty rogue fleet was reduced to space debris. The remnants of their ships floated helplessly in the void, their weapons and technology useless against Earth's advanced military capabilities. The super soldiers, having successfully completed their mission, stood victorious. Their AI systems had provided them with real-time battle data, allowing them to anticipate every enemy move. The humans had once been underestimated, but now they were a force to be reckoned with. Back at the Galactic Council, the members watched in stunned silence as the rogue faction's forces were annihilated before their very eyes. They had believed that their power and influence were enough to control the galaxy, but this attack had proven otherwise. Earth's super soldiers, backed by cutting-edge AI technology, had destroyed a fleet that had been thought invincible. The Council now understood that humanity was no longer just a small, insignificant planet. Earth had shown them its strength, and it was undeniable. As the battle concluded, the Galactic Council convened in an emergency session. The members were divided. Some of them were still reluctant to accept humanity's place in the galaxy, while others were beginning to see the truth. The rogue faction had been wiped out, and Earth's victory was a clear message. No longer could humanity be dismissed or underestimated. They had earned their place on the galactic stage, and now they were prepared to contribute to the greater good. The debate was fierce, but in the end, a resolution was reached. The Council acknowledged that Earth's super soldier program, though born out of necessity, had brought about a new era of military power. They also recognized that humanity, with its impressive technological advancements and the strength of its people, could play a vital role in maintaining galactic peace. The rogue faction's failure had proven that Earth could stand on its own, and the Council saw the potential for an alliance that could benefit the galaxy as a whole. A representative from one of the more moderate factions, Admiral Lyra Voss, stood up to address the assembly. It is clear to us all now. Earth has shown us what they are capable of. We cannot deny their strength, nor can we ignore their potential for peace. We may have once seen them as underdogs, but now we see them as equals. It is time to build a future together, not as adversaries, but as allies. Her words carried weight, and for the first time, the Council was united in their decision. The rogue faction's attempts to control and destroy Earth had failed, and now humanity had earned the respect of the galaxy's most powerful factions. Back on Earth, the news of their victory spread like wildfire. The soldiers, who had been regarded as little more than enhanced warriors, were now celebrated as heroes. Their courage and sacrifice had proven that humanity was not to be underestimated. They had fought not just for survival, but for the survival of their planet and their future. As the celebrations continued, President Cross addressed the public, standing before a crowd of millions. His words resonated with every listener, sending a clear message to the galaxy and beyond. We may have started as your underdogs, but now we stand as equals. You'll regret ever thinking we were weak. The crowd erupted in cheers, their voices carrying across the planet. It was a moment of triumph, not just for Earth, but for every person who had ever been told they were too small, too weak, or too insignificant. Humanity had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with, and now they were ready to stand side by side with the other civilizations of the galaxy. The Galactic Council, having recognized Earth's newfound power, extended a hand of alliance. They had seen the strength of humanity, and now they were willing to work together to ensure the survival of the galaxy. No longer would Earth be isolated and disregarded. They had earned their place, and they would no longer be looked down upon. In the days that followed, Earth's super soldiers continued to train, perfecting their tactics and strategies. The AI that had once been used solely for warfare was now integrated into peaceful endeavors, helping to further the advancement of science, medicine, and technology. Earth's role in the galaxy was no longer just that of a defender. It was now that of a contributor, someone who had earned the respect of the galaxy and who was ready to help guide it toward a brighter future. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Never underestimate the power of a planet that will stop at nothing to survive. Earth had risen from the ashes of war and destruction, and now it stood tall, united, strong, and ready to face whatever challenges the future might bring. And in the end, they had not just survived. They had thrived.